Hello and welcome. Today I am working on a painting in acrylic. I've been working on lately skies, beautiful bright skies and bright coloured landscapes. So I want to continue on that line today of something coastal, and I've put a lot of orange on my palette. So for anybody who likes orange, and it is such a joyful colour, I've got orange to use up. I've just dumped it on my palette because that's the main colour. And I'm thinking of purples and pinks and other bright colours that you would see, growing in the sand dunes during the summertime. So we'll get started. I'm going to zoom in on this piece of, it's just acrylic paper. You can use any paper. This is just a strong paper. And everything else you need is just acrylic paints. You may need a hairdryer, or else you can just pause the video to let your painting dry. A selection of brushes, a spray bottle is handy, spray with water, ordinary water, and a good selection of paintbrushes, and that'll be it. Lots of white paint as well. So yeah, the orange is down on my canvas, so I'm just going to give this a lot of orange to start with, and as we go on the orange will probably recede. There won't be as much in it, but I want to use quite a lot of it in the beginning. So yeah, I'm thinking of the Mount Brisha that just really grows wild and takes over the hedgerows in Ireland during the summertime. I'm not starting with a large brush today. It's a medium-sized brush, but I'm getting into just putting in the shapes of the colour of the flowers from the very beginning here. And sometimes I just have to bring that out to the edge to get my marks fully down to the bottom. So yeah, they're going up there. And this is just loose and rough in the beginning. And in between, I'm going to put some white, just ordinary plain white. Oh, actually I have a little bit of yellow here. So I'm going to add some yellow into the white just to take the plain white out of it. So really I'm getting different shades of this orange here. And I feel like I want to bring the orange up into the sky as well. So even up here, I'm going to bring it in. Now, there may be other colours coming into that as we go along, but I've got a lot of orange out and I'm in my orange mood today, so... But as I say, as this canvas goes on, often when I start with one colour, it disappears completely as the painting goes on. It's like I put I start using contrasting colours, and the painting changes colour. So we'll see what comes out of this. I did a sky in something like this colour recently, and I really liked it, so it's coming back in again now in a different kind of painting. So really just playing around with this, really these different shades of orange, and there has been a tiny bit of yellow thrown in there as well. Now my paper is beginning to sag, so I'm going to clamp it down. It's just the weight of the paint, and the water on the paint is actually stretching the paper a bit and making it buckle. So it is a good solution. It adds weight. These heavy clamps do add weight to the bottom of the painting. And I'm letting the paper hang over the end of my easel so I can I can paint marks coming off the bottom of the painting, that I'm not restricted by that easel. And I'm going to keep going with this idea of just using the two different shades. I will add a little bit of yellow into this mix. And I also have a bit of purple on my palette that I'm going to throw in as well. So yeah, this is a yellow mixed in with the orange. I'm going more for pure yellow now. I want to change the colour slightly and go more towards the yellow. So I'm mixing yellow with white as I move over here, where I think this part of the painting is where the sunlight is coming from. Somewhere up here or off the painting. It's worth thinking about when you're painting is, where is your sunlight coming from? Because that'll help you be consistent with the painting. As to where your lights and your shadows are. So just using loose brush marks. And I'm bringing that yellow in. I know as I go on I'll be adding blue and green into this. I can feel it's way too hot. It's getting way too hot, too warm with all this yellow and orange. So yes, it does need some contrast. Is going to be coming soon. But I like this kind of these simple colours together. Almost like, you know, monochrome. And two colours here, but they're very similar to each other, yellow and orange. So, and I'm going to come back in with the orange on this side. Thinking of the Montbretia, those flowers there. As I'm doing these marks now, I'm beginning to think about how the flower heads would be. That's why I'm making these different kind of marks. Because this is the kind of, they'll be going in different directions like this, down along their long stems. Have a few large ones maybe here in the foreground. Not too large though. Okay. And a few up here on the horizon. So those are my very, very warm colours. And we'll see what becomes of them now in a few minutes, because I'm going to change, I'm going to bring in some other cooler colours into this. So I'm just washing out that brush and deciding what I'm going to come in with. And I think really, I think a blue, even though I know this turquoise is going to look fantastic. So I'm actually going to just come straight in with turquoise. So it's a turquoisey greeny blue. That I'm going to add in, and I'm going to use a thinner brush here, quite a thin, long brush, just to come in with that colour. And I'm mixing it actually with the yellow to get a real, I almost call it a St. Patrick's Day green. It's a real emerald kind of green. And I'm going to bring in a few spots of that here and there. Sometimes when I'm doing this with a really thin brush, I almost feel like it's like writing script. Just letting the lines flow. And I would paint, I always paint over this again, but leave some of them showing through. And I'm going to come back in with slightly thicker brush. That's not a great brush. I've got a few brushes that are well and truly used here. We'll try this one. I don't want it to be too thick, but I don't want it to be too thin either. So I'm going to mix some white in with that emerald green, the turquoise green, and bring that in here and there. Actually, I feel I should bring it in here on the horizon. My dog barking in the background. I don't want these to be huge mountains, but I want them to be maybe a line of adjoining mountains, but nothing that's going to stand out hugely. And I'm going to just suggest that the coast is in the background. because that's where I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about the sea. And probably the sea is just somewhere here in this left-hand corner. So just continuing with this painting, I want to make a quick apology. My video, I just looked back and my video had stopped. It had cut off, so there is a few minutes, beg your pardon, there's a few minutes missing from this video. So basically, just to explain what I did in those few minutes, I put a pale blue wash over the sky just to bring back the orange of the sky. It was just a bit too orange for me. And I also continued to bring that blue that I was working on. I brought some of that blue down through the painting. So that's as far as I have got. So we'll continue on from there. And I'll just keep going to let you catch up. I'll keep going with just working on blending in this blue. That blue colour that I was taking down through the painting. So it was a turquoise blue colour. So yeah, I'm going to bring it kind of down further into the painting like this. Well, I'm still on the quite early part of the painting, so I haven't made any final decisions as to what the subject matter, or, you know, the flowers or any details that I'm putting into it yet. Oh, and I think as well I simplified those mountains. There maybe was one or two extra shapes, and I've simplified the mountains down a little bit as well. So yeah, keeping that blue, I did bring bits of the blue further down into the picture, but I think I'm going to keep the blue more of it up into the top part. And goodness, I've just added in some purple accidentally onto my brush. I'm not sure if I want to use the purple, but I will add a little. Seeing I have it on the brush and I had it on my palette, I'm going to bring some of it in here. And it'll just bring a little bit of interest into the painting, adding an additional colour. I can take it out if I don't like it. Just taking it down through the canvas there, or through the paper. I'm so used to working on canvas, I keep calling the paper canvas. I'm going to put some more white onto my palette. And all I did with the sky there was just to add a very pale blue, a wash of it, like I'm doing now. So a wash is just like the pale white and the turquoise, that I'm using, mixed together. and water. So I'm just building up that again, building up another layer of that. But I've still got some of that orange in the sky. I've got quite a lot of that orange still in the sky. It's giving it a nice glow. And over here, that white, you know, it could be just the shoreline, the sea coming right in here. Just putting a bit of a highlight on some of those mountains. I may not need to, but maybe a touch of a cloud somewhere there on the sky. So now as I continue, I'm adding some little flower heads in here. Or maybe some grasses, but just adding some of the lighter colour. Bringing that, it's a very pale blue, it's a turquoise, adding the turquoise with some white. I'm going to keep kind of adding little layers in here into this water area. And I'm going for the yellow. And there is a touch of blue on my brush as well, some of that turquoise. So I'm adding that into the yellow and dotting that around here. And I think particularly up here, it would be nice to add more yellow, because kind of close to the sea you get a lot of yellow. Maybe a touch of the beach, touch of sand, yellow for the sand, and hinting at it there. And you know, the sand dunes are quite sandy and yellow. There could even be an estuary coming in here that's quite yellowy as well, sandy. Some sounds, I think, in the background. I think there's a bit of building work going on next door. They're coming through on the video. So yeah, little hints of grasses, maybe yellow grasses in the distance. Sand. Just building up that yellow there, little layers of yellow, and bringing them down into the bottom of the picture. And I just feel yeah, that I like this yellow, so I want to bring it into the corners of the painting. Mix it with a bit of white. And that will lighten up the corners a little bit and make them more neutral. still just layering up here, building the colours, building one colour over another colour. So now that I've got the yellow on my brush, I'm putting the yellow over what's down there already. And I'm thinking of going back to my thin rigger brush and adding in some details and going back into the orange, that really bright orange, and just adding a few details. Really, they're suggestions of flower heads rather than getting into any great detail. Perhaps blowing in the wind there around the edges. And now I'm going to go and into that turquoise and make a stem or two here. And this is just to give me a little bit of detail in the foreground. But I'm adding in these individual stems. And that's it there. And back in with the orange to put some of those flower heads over the stems. So they're just very roughly put in. And like a few highlights here as well on some of those flower heads with the white. So that orange is still very wet, so the white is mixing in with it to give me kind of nice highlights. And I think that roughly is it for me today. It's like a little seascape in the distance with some some Mount Brescia, some floral elements in that painting in the foreground, just very loosely put in. And just zooming back out again. And as I always do, I may add in a few extra details into this painting. You'll see it in the thumbnail in the beginning. So I hope you enjoy this today, and I hope it inspires you to do something similar, and that you like the bit of experimentation I did on the sky. So I'll talk to you soon. Please subscribe and share, and get the video out. It would be brilliant. I'd really appreciate it. And I'll talk to you next week. Until then.